Welcome yet again to the Learn Energy Healing series of videos. So last time we used the pendulum as a tool to verify what we were doing with our hands, what we were feeling with our hands. Today we're going to focus a bit more on intention. So we're training ourselves with our sense of touch, using our sense of touch to feel the aura, but we are using intention now to focus in on certain things, certain densities, so that we can only feel those things that we intend to feel, not everything else. So you don't have to feel everything that's going into the aura, in the aura. It may be useful for diagnostic reasons to help someone understand what's going on, or for you to understand what's going on, and it may be helpful in later on when you are learning healing techniques to help you focus energy more specifically to a particular place, to a particular area. So just as before, we are running our hand through the aura, and again, whatever way you run your hand through the aura doesn't really matter, left-handed, right-handed. But this time we are setting an intention to feel only one specific thing. So for example, this time I'm going to intend to only feel the energies related to her bones. So I only want to feel bones via the aura. So if I start outside of the body, if I'm moving here, I shouldn't really be able to feel much because there's no bones out here. And as I come close to the body, I can start to feel bones because that's her arm there. And then a bit of a gap. And then, I can feel bones again because that's her ribs. And then in the middle, her spine. You can also be very specific and say, okay, I only want to feel one particular bone. So, for example, the femur. So I can start on her tibia down here below her knee. And if I'm intending to only feel her femur, the thigh bone, if you like, I shouldn't feel much down here. And as I'm coming close to her kneecap, and as I get to the upper part of the kneecap, I should start to feel something, and I do. Because the start of the femur is just behind the top of the kneecap here. So I can start to feel the femur, I can feel the femur all the way up here. I can feel the bend in the top of the femur and where it joins onto the pelvis here, and I stop feeling it here. I don't feel it anymore because I'm intending to only feel that particular bone. You can also, for example, ask to only feel the blood and the vascular system. So anyone who has come across auric magnetic healing, which is one of the original healing techniques I learned personally back in New Zealand, that's quite common for you to intend to only feel the blood because they clear the blood first before they do other aura clearings in that particular methodology. So let's intend with our hands to only feel the blood. And again, away from the body, I shouldn't feel blood because there's no blood out here. And as I come towards the body, I should start to feel it. So that's one way of verifying whether you are truly tuning into the blood or not. So I can move up the body and see how does it change. Does it feel denser like it does here on my wife? And it feels a little bit lighter in comparison here to here. And a little bit going on here as well. Another thing you can do is to tune into different densities of energy. So there are lots of models of the aura. A lot of those models divide the aura up into different densities. A lot of people call them layers, but really they're densities because it's not like an onion where there's one layer on top of the next. It's not like that. First density in most of these models is called the etheric body, or the etheric part of the aura, because that's the closest to the physical body, the most related to the physical body. So again, I can ask my hand to only feel the etheric density. And again, I can move my hand through and see what's going on with the etheric body. And I can feel here as I get to the top of the femur where it joins onto the pelvis. Again, a bit like when I was feeling into the bullets, a little bit more dense here. And interestingly, I feel a little bit of a shake in my hand. Ooh, and as I go further up, my hand wants to shake even more. I'm not actually, I can see you can't see that very well on the camera, but my hand is shaking quite a bit. And I'm literally letting my hand shake. I'm not actually generating that shake. And I know I'm not the one generating that because when I move my hand lower down, it completely stops. So that's interesting, isn't it? So that's something I haven't mentioned in previous videos. Sometimes you may get movements in your hand or arm as you pass over certain parts of the aura. This could mean that energy is moving from me into her or the other way around. That could be something that's happening right now. It could be my feeling in my hand of how her hip feels, her muscles in that area feel. It could be that they are a bit tense, that the nervous system is overworked. Many possibilities that could be causing this. Ah, that's interesting. It stops again, doesn't it, over here? We could also tune into the emotional density, as we call it. So the emotional density in most models of the chakras and the aura system is the next density up from the etheric. So again, I can intend, okay, I only want to feel emotional energies now. And I can move my hand through the aura feeling emotional energies. And sure enough, again, my hand isn't shaking this time, notice. But I can definitely feel something a bit more dense here compared to here. So I know that there's something going on here. And my hand feels a little bit harder to move through this area and it gets a bit easier up here. So I know that there's something going on there emotionally as well. Okay. You could also focus on different emotions. So anger can be found in various areas of the body, actually. But the most common place is these middle organs here, especially the liver. Most people consider anger being related to the liver, but it can be related to lots of different organs. You can get it up by the jaw, for example. So if you're not expressing anger and you're holding it inside, you can actually feel anger energies up around the jaw, for example. So let's set my intention. Let's set the intention to only feel the emotion of anger. Not too bad. I can definitely feel a change between here and here, but it's not a significant, not a really noticeable thing compared to what we were tuning into earlier. So there's lots of different things you can play around with there. Have a little practice between now and the next video, using your intention to tune into certain types of energies, certain energies related to different organs, parts of the body, so that you can learn to tune into what you wish to tune into. Hope you enjoyed that last section. Just a few words before we move on to the next video. And ideally, of course, you want to be scanning the whole auric field to get used to it, of course, ready for healing. So I suggest that you start below the feet and work your way all the way up the body and above the head, and of course either side of the body, all areas of the body, left and right. And generally speaking, you want to be playing around with energies beyond a meter away from the body. In most models of the aura, and in most models of the aura that have been scientifically investigated as well, typically people would say that the end of the human aura, at least at the level of consciousness we are at the moment, extends to about a meter, just over a meter, maybe 3.5 feet beyond the body. It depends, of course. It can be shorter, it can be longer, depending on how vibrant the body is, but generally speaking, that's where most people would tend to say that the human aura ends. In my opinion, it doesn't. But play around with going beyond that distance from the body, both away from the body this way as well as up and down and left and right, just so you can see if you can feel what they perceive as the edge of the human aura. And it's important to scan all through the aura. You will learn later on how important this is. So even as an experienced healer, it's still very useful for me to scan throughout the aura. Even if I am pulled more towards a certain place in the aura to heal, related to a certain organ or a certain chakra, it's still very useful to scan the whole aura, especially if you're not sure what's going on, and also especially if you are certain of what's going on, because sometimes you can miss things. Sometimes you don't realise how one part of an aura is affecting another part of the aura, and how important it may well be to work on that other area so that it's easier to work on the problem area, and vice versa. So scanning through the whole aura is a very useful thing to get used to so that you don't miss anything. And especially if you are not certain about things, if you haven't developed your intuition much and aren't pulled in a certain place, then you can be a very effective healer just by making sure you scan through all of the aura and work on whatever you find throughout the aura. You don't have to open up your third eye, you don't have to open up all the other senses in your body in order to be an effective healer. If you learn to scan throughout the aura, then you won't miss anything, and you may well actually do better than someone who goes straight for something. So, there are examples in the physical world. If someone has a symptom somewhere, a pain, or an emotional symptom, or a mental symptom, or an astral symptom, the main cause may not be where the symptom is. It may not be where the perceived pain or problem is. It may well be something else going on. So scan through the whole aura, make sure you get used to it, and then you'll be nice and prepared for when we start doing actual healing techniques in the next, not the next video because I want to go through some other details, but maybe the video after that will actually do some healing techniques. See you there.